What's going on, everybody? I'm excited to announce a brand new segment for the channel. It's called Conversations with an Expat. In this series, I'll be talking with immigrants living here in France about their experiences, the challenges they face, how they've adapted, how they got here, their visa journey, and all the little things that make life in France what it is. And I'm thrilled to kick things off with our very first guest, Chez Davis. He's a writer, director, producer, musician, and a fellow YouTuber behind the channel Chez Davis, where he and his partner share amazing tips about living abroad, travel tips, expat life, and much more. Brendan's based in Paris, so if you're curious about living in that area, I asked him a bunch of great questions about what life's like there, and I think you'll really get a kick out of this one. And when you're finished with this video, I also did an interview with Brendan on his channel, Chez Davis. We talked about my background, how I got here. We covered some great information. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the conversation. So, Brendan, thank you for joining us, being here for this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Alex, it is a pleasure to do this with you. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So, you told me a little bit about your history, but if you could tell us where you're from and how you ended up in France. And I know it's kind of a crazy story, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a long one, but I'll give you the really short version. So, my origin story to now, in a minute or less, is I was born and raised in the American South mostly. Moved to Los Angeles in 2002. I got a film degree when I still lived in Atlanta and worked as a technician in film and TV for many years in the production sound department. I was a picture editor. Moved to LA to focus on what I went to school for, which is writing and directing. So, of course, I became a producer because out of necessity, originally to get my own projects going. But anyway, producing is what stuck. And then over years in LA, I was part of a bunch of independent films, some of which made some noise, some of which you never heard of, and that's fine. But I was a producer on quite a few films, and along the way, I became a China Hollywood guy. I had a lot of Chinese contacts in Hollywood where I helped them out. I started doing projects that were cross-cultural, cross-border. And in 2013, I started going back and forth to China from LA. And so Beijing, Los Angeles was like a regular trip for me. I'd spend a month in China about every quarter. Had several projects going. That's its own podcast series. But I moved to Beijing full time in 2016, although I kept a footprint in LA. And then along the way, I ended up moving to France because a project that I developed with a writer director, with me as the producer, an American expat, another American expat who was living in Beijing, had this project set in the world of Paris high fashion. And I signed on officially after years of just being a feedback loop as a friend for him. I signed on to produce this movie in August of 2018. We started coming over here in January 2019 and went to Fashion Week and everything, and finding our local line producer and, making our, building our team. And so France has been on my radar as a place I knew that I would come, if slash when this project ever happens. I knew that I would be coming here for at least a year and a half between the prep and the production and the editing and the follow-up. And meanwhile, the pandemic happened. I had to go back to California, couldn't stay in China. My longtime girlfriend Susie and I, Susie's Chinese from Beijing, we stayed in touch. When the pandemic kind of eased up, we reunited in Paris, got married in Copenhagen, spent a couple months in France, traveled around the UK, went back to China 3 weeks later, find out she's pregnant. And we thought, well, don't know if this movie's going to move us or not, but we knew we wanted, by this time, us talking, us having spent our honeymoon here, we knew that we wanted France to be our chosen home. So we moved ourselves. We had the last safe date that she could fly, being super pregnant. We did it. And January 6th of 2024, my daughter was born in a Paris hospital. So I'm pretty official at this point.
Well, that is awesome, and just gotta say, congrats on your career. I always love hearing about creative people chasing a dream and doing their thing. So that is awesome. So I guess my follow up to that is, what drew you to France? So you said it was kind of on your radar, and you that made you you kind of wanted that to be your forever home. But what about it made you think that?
Well, there's so much that I love about France, and I'm a bit Paris biased with my experience because I've spent the most time here now, actually living in the suburbs of Paris. We don't live in the city. We have lived in the city short term when we had, in the previous time. But in general, I've always wanted to live in Europe. I've traveled here. My first trip was one of these 10 major cities in 14 days, high school trips, like my
Mm.
senior year, and we spent 3 days in Paris, and traveled also through Italy and Switzerland and stuff. But so I've always been drawn to it. I've always been interested in, among other world cultures that have fascinated me, such as Chinese culture. Part of why I moved to China, besides the business aspect, was completely alien environment, and I'm excited by that. I'm the kind of person that makes me want to move towards something. And I wasn't running from the US, I was moving toward the greater, bigger world, right? But so Paris having been on my professional radar so intensely since, like I said, fall of 2018, and we've made multiple trips here, and I've made friends along the way, plus professional colleagues. So I thought, this is really a great place for us, and I'm much more aligned with a lot, like, my values are much more aligned with, the French motto, liberty, equality, fraternity, right? That's the sort of philosophical disposition that means a lot to me. And the food quality standards, the art and the culture is a huge part of why we like living here specifically. But, the situation back home in the States is what it is. China is not my culture. I love to visit. I've traveled all over China, many friends and colleagues, quite literally I have like 6,000 contacts in my Chinese like messaging app from my work and my travels. And so that's again, I have done two complete podcast series that are where that's a factor. But France for me has just always felt like a place that could be home. And growing up, this was never a big part of my kind of consciousness, but I am actually a quarter French. My father's mother was born in the US in Louisiana, so they were technically sort of Cajun French, but her parents moved from France. They moved from France to Louisiana. So I'm actually a quarter French, and then the rest is like English and Irish. But I love the way of life. I love the pace of life. Although as an American, of course, I sort of have my own pace. I still have my American film producer. There's never a down moment for me, but I love that at least culturally, I can count on the French to be relaxed between, noon and 2 p.m. I can count on other things not being crazy, and I can do I can do me and let them do them. But it kind of works out.
Yeah, I would say I totally agree with you about the cultural aspect of just going to a different area and just experience all that. I'm totally the same with it. Not running from anything, just exploring the world, getting out there, doing just seeing what's out there, really. So you got here, so you moved on a talent visa. Is that correct? Or
I did. I did. Yeah.
uh,
I moved on a talent pass. I have had a talent passport visa, and now that's the yes, yes.
so
My
did your
residence card is based on that.
and your production company? How did you obtain that, or how did that come about?
Sure, that's a great question. And on our channel on Chez Davis, the
Hmm.
Expat Parents in Paris channel that I run with my wife Susie, that is a video that's on that to-do list. I'm sure you've got a long one
Good.
too. That's on that. I need to do a video all about that, and
Hmm.
people have asked. So the real short version is that the impetus for the visa, the magic ingredient, because it's a really hard visa to get. I've Susie pulls some data on all of this at one point for some other purpose. It's apparently the rarest category, and my specific niche is like the smallest. There may be a couple others that are similarly small, but it's a tiny amount of people who are in France on my very specific subcategory of this category visa.
Hmm.
So long and short of it is that we have this project that is supported by the French government, meaning it's within the I would get into the weeds if we were a film specific show here on your channel. I would detail that more, but there's the governing body for French film administratively, like the national government's body that oversees all things filmmaking wise. Our project, it's a big movie. The movie I'm producing that's based on Paris, set in the world of Paris fashion. It's a big movie as an independent film. It's like the international theatrical movie theater movie with movie stars. In theory, right now it's a concept. But anyway, it's been various stages of very real. Pandemic really screwed things up, and we're on the regrouping stage again right now. It's so fingers crossed. But that's necessary context for me to answer your question shortly. You got to
Right.
get this context.
Yeah.
So when we first made our scouting trip here, me, my writer director, and our cinematographer, who's also one of our partners in our U.S. company, and one of the first orders of business was interviewing and then hiring our local production services company, our line producer, production manager, and they're the company that serves the interface for all the French crew and access to locations. They know all the French rules, etc. They do all the hiring of all the locals and run everything for us. And so essentially, the head of that company wrote a letter for me that so that project is in the system, and there's like a basically like an ID number for that project that France recognizes, it is aware of it. We spent a certain amount of time, certain amount of money in development on that project here, hiring people, hiring those guys, hiring other people to do location scouts and things. So it's a real project with a real track record and history, and I'm the lead producer of that project. And as such, knowing that I need to be here for like I said, at least a year and a half total from when the project actually begins. Okay, now we're in the early preparation and all the way through to finishing and marketing and releasing the film for the European side. So he wrote a letter talking about me and about me, my background, my professional history, who I am personally, as is relevant to why I'm a good person to come and live in France. And it's so funny because I mean, he knows me, but also he said basically, give me everything about you think I might need to possibly know, and
Mm.
I'll summarize it and put it in perfect French, and I know how to talk to these people, which I did, and he did. But when I read it and I translated it all, I told him, I said, man, if this producing thing, because he's a producer here, I said, if this producing thing doesn't work out for you, I want you to be my agent. Because oh my God, it's like I want to meet this guy. Like the guy he's
Yeah.
describing. I mean, it is me. There's no lies. It's just
Buttered you up a
there's no
little bit.
amount of immodesty that I can say any of those things the way he said it about me. But so basically, he wrote me a glowing letter to validate my that I have a track record in the US, and I was sort of semi-famous in the China foreigners filmmaking world. I was sort of semi well known. I used to do a lot of TV, a lot of radio appearances, and so I'm a known entity in two other markets as a filmmaker. So he wrote me a letter of recommendation basically.
Okay. So that talent visa, is that what you're on right now still?
Well, no, so it's a one year visa that the talent passport visa, as it's called, is renewable after it's a 1 year visa to start typically, and then it's renewable for up to a 4 year residence card that is then renewable. And so we were talking before we were doing this about like what are the moments that things became real for you, and I've
Mm.
got a list of those, and I don't want to get ahead of any questions you may ask me,
Hey,
but one
let it natural. Come.
cool one of the first this is real that we really live here is my daughter giving birth, excuse me, my wife, that would be weird, yeah, my wife giving birth to our daughter in a hospital in the 15th arrondissement, which is the fancy French word for district, in the 15th district of Paris. It's like, yeah, this is real. And of course, that's real in all kinds of ways, which you as a father of three
Yeah.
understand. But that was the big moment. Then the next really big moment of, okay, so we're actually in the system was getting my carte vitale back when we were still just on the visa, but like I'm in the healthcare system and then using it the first time and like hoping it actually, I go to the pharmacy and I got, first of all paying the doctor and then, oh, okay, yeah, this works. And then the pharmacy, it's like, oh, the thing that we were privately paying, whatever it was, call it 30 euros. All of a sudden it's 8 euros. I'm like, oh, wow, this
Hmm.
is awesome. But then renewing my visa, so I now have my 4 year titre de séjour. So that 1 year visa then was renewed, and I have a residence card. I have a 4 year residence card, and on the back of it, it's got the category information and stuff, and it says talent passport dash artiste.
Ah.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh man, and my mom really loves that. Like, oh, look,
Absolutely.
France says I'm an artiste, damn it. Although I'm most well known for like having been a producer on some like a really raunchy horror film a long time ago.
All
I've
right.
done horror and read comedy films, but France wants to call me an artiste. I will gladly accept. So
Right, right.
so
Art
yeah,
is
so it's so that was like this is home. I mean,
mhm.
we want this to be our forever home, and there you
Okay.
go.
So do you plan on becoming a citizen eventually?
I do if they'll have me.
Right.
Yeah, France, of course, is a country that does recognize, dual citizenship and
Mhm,
everything
mhm.
is so yeah, I mean, I plan to keep, obviously my American passport and also I want to get the French passport when I'm eligible. Got to work on my French a little harder. We'll probably talk about that at some point, but
Moi aussi.
what's that? Oh
Moi
yeah, well, I'll
aussi.
see. Oui.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
moi,
do
oui, oui.
also plan on yeah, getting a citizenship. Obviously, I just got here a month ago, so it's gonna be a while, but absolutely that is on the list. I would love to get my citizenship and feel at home here in both the countries. There's a lot of mosquitoes here in the south in Bordeaux, and they are the bane of my existence. Like now, I don't trust any feeling on my body anywhere. Like if I feel something, it's like a mosquito on me. So, how are the mosquitoes in Paris area?
They suck.
They're there though.
They are no fun, no good. In our previous place that we lived, we moved here right kind of toward the tail end. There are a few of them we've dealt with. We moved to this new little suburban city from the other one that's adjacent. And the old place, here's the thing about France, generally speaking, they don't have screens on the windows because generally speaking, the windows are some kind of a contraption or you have shutters. It's real common to close shutters so you have to open the window and reach out and reach and pull shutters or something. So there's generally aren't screens on the windows, which isn't insane to an American if you live in a place it's like you're surrounded by things that could sting you. But at our old place, we actually got this stuff from Amazon with like double-sided. It's basically we gimmicked up screens on the windows we could, and that's what we kept those open. We got a portable air conditioner unit when it was so hot because it gets so hot here in Paris in the summer, just like it gets so cold in the winter. I mean, there are four legit seasons, although fall, like blinking, you'll miss it. It's fall seems pretty quick here in Paris. I mean, it's technically fall, of course, as we sit here and talk, but and it feels fall today. It's actually pretty comfortable outside, but I mean, I do wear like my Patagonia and like a light scarf when I go out. I'm not just rocking out in shirt sleeves right now. But yeah, with mosquitoes, um, in this new place, this house that we're renting, we're really super lucky because guess what we have that is a total luxury and relatively rare in Paris. Guess what we have? Air
Screening?
conditioning.
Oh wow, wow.
Now, it's not like whole house, which is good because that would be wasteful, but it's like basically my office is in the basement in the lower level. In the upper level, there are like the head, there's like one big unit that's outside, and there are the individual units you control in the living room, which is also where my daughter sleeps. The living room is basically our mini creche. The creche is the French for daycare. So she sleeps up there because then the master bedroom is is on the same floor along with the kitchen, and that's the entry is up there. And so we have, and then there's one in the kitchen, which is good because sometimes, when the weather's hot and you're cooking as well. So we don't have to leave the windows open just to survive. We actually did run those AC units. We'd turn them on and off. Each has like a remote control, but we ran them probably about 2 solid months. We moved in here in late April in this place, but in the old place, man, it was wicked. And what really sucked is my poor little baby. I mean, mosquitoes, I don't like them and they don't like me. Man, mosquitoes love my wife and they love, 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 love my baby daughter. I guess that baby meat is extra sweet to a mosquito or something because that girl looked like a damn pincushion. And we did everything we could to protect her, and everything possible. And we had like this big kind of mosquito net that was like rigged and hanging over her playpen, which was also her bed at night with mattresses in it. We did everything we could, but man, we take her outside and between our door and the daycare, the old daycare, she just had like 10 bites on her.
Yeah.
So we have, it's funny you ask, right here, I have
Oh,
the
you're
wand of
ready.
death. I have the wand of death right here. And this position is it's because of the light, you can't tell it's glowing purple now.
Uh-huh.
That means beware because it is live. So I'm going to turn it off before I zap my dumb ass. But we have one of these upstairs as well. That one sits right here. And then we have one upstairs and I still if the weather warms up a lot and the mosquitoes kind of like wake back up, from their slumber, I will go through and I will sweep the baby's room before
Yeah,
we close the door for the night.
Yeah. I just had to ask because I was kind of surprised at how many mosquitoes there are just around. So I had to see if there's some in Paris, and apparently there are. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for
um,
sure.
so have you built any connections in France aside from your work experiences? Have you found any other like the legendary French friend I keep hearing about? How once you get one, they're never letting go.
Yeah.
Have you been able to
Yeah.
obtain a French friend?
I have. I actually have quite a few friends. But of course, as grown ass adults with crazy lives and everything and families, we don't really see each other that often. But I have one really good French friend who everyone is work connected
Mm.
in some way, work or creative
Oh yeah.
in depth, creative life connected. One of my best friends is my friend Eric, who's actual French. He happens to live 3 blocks away from here. And he is part of the local production services company. He's one of the guys, he and the partner that owns the company, he is one of our French producers, or he was. He's retired. This movie has taken so long in development that Eric is now retired. But he's a very good friend. He's helped with so many of the administrative type things that me and ChatGPT and Google Translate hit a wall on. He's totally been a saving grace. He's great. His wife, and he has like grown-up daughters and stuff, but one of them lives at home and everything because she works nearby. They're great. I have another friend. I have quite a few friends who most of my friends and people we deal with are French. And now that we have the baby in her second daycare, we actually know those parents really
Mm.
well. That's its own story. But we're in a daycare this year because we moved cities. We had to get into the new system, and we didn't get the kind where you just drop the kids, say goodbye, pick them up. We have the one where you do that, but then a few times a month, basically the parents run this kind of a daycare. It's called a
Mm-hmm.
crèche parentale. And so the parents have to, there's like a Google Doc and you choose your slots, but every month you do 2, 3, or 4 duty shifts where depending on the day and what's happening, you either come help just play with the kids or you like deal with the kitchen, the dishes and the trash or whatever, and that's fun. But therefore, we have this. we have multiple threads of WhatsApp where this is for this purpose, this is general chat, this is for rescheduling your shift. So I work a little bit part-time at the daycare, and so I know other parents, and then we also, the parents collective, organize. There's a professional staff of, trained child early education people, professional chef, like legit chef, just happens to be cooking for little people, but legit French chef cooking the food all day. So there's a professional staff of people, but then the parents augment in
Mhm.
all these ways. And then we plan the events, the outings, and every parent also has a role. They happen to assign every family, they assigned our family the role of events and communications managers, which means that, and I thought, could you pick somebody whose French is slightly better than us for that job? But we're making it work. So far, so I don't want to knock and make the camera shake, but knock on imaginary wood, I'll knock up here.
So, I
So,
mean,
so your question was about friends. I have some, ironically, I have two French friends who are friends from Beijing. They're fellow expats in Beijing. One of them still lives there, but whenever he's visited home, we've gotten together here. I have another Franco-Swiss friend who's lived back to living in France finally, and he's a little bit older than me. He's in his early 60s, I guess. And then I have a few other friends I've made through
yeah.
friends. I have some French directors, producers, writers, quite a few actors.
Mhm.
Nobody famous yet. I don't have any good names to drop, but
Um,
they're famous in my heart because they're
right in
awesome.
the heart, yes. Yeah, I have heard, good way to find friends and community is do things you like or you enjoy, and especially you're creative people. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Obviously, go do what you enjoy and find people. That's the best way to make connections because you already have that thing aligned that you like. So, absolutely, that's
Absolutely.
great. Is it hard to live in Paris without being fluent in French?
It can be. Short answer is it can be. I would say that, that there's certain things that you'll be fine. But yeah, they speak French in France. Go figure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I would say that if you are in sort of an expat tourist sort of bubble, it's fine. You know, if someone's just visiting here and they don't have any French language skills, really, and you're traveling around. I mean, one thing is you can always go, even if you're not staying there, you can always find like a fancy hotel. The five-star hotels, the front desk, there's somebody that they probably speak better English than than
Right,
than some of the tourists.
right.
So go to a fancy hotel, and if you ever are stuck and like need help. Um, but yeah, if you get outside like where we live here, and again, I'm two stops on the RER is the commuter trains. There's the metro is the subway in the city. The metro doesn't run out here. We take the RER train. We take the RER-A from Joinville-le-Pont, which in
Mm.
English would be Joinville, the bridge. So that station's just like right up there, and it's two stops, and then you are in Paris. If I had a car, I could pull out of my driveway, and 6, 7 minutes, I'm technically in Paris. So we're really close. But out here, you find especially younger generation tends to know some English, like in a boulangerie or whatever. But because they consume media from around the world,
Right.
and English being a more standard language, the younger generation of people, they tend to know a fair amount of English. But I mean, you go into situations where there's not a word of it spoken. So
Mhm.
my advice to anybody who wants to actually do something like what you and I have done, you know, if perfect your French, like work on your French as soon as possible, as diligently as possible for any kind of moving stuff. The administrative to-do list is just it's endless. Start preparing, I mean, minimum 6 months before you want to make a move, and that's what kind of helped me was
Yeah.
because Paris had been on my radar for so long because I knew that I'd be coming here at least for a long time. And at the time, had planned to bring my girlfriend Susie to come stay with me if she wanted to. And then, cut
Mhm.
to we're married and have a baby here. But yeah, Paris specifically, it helps to understand for people, I think, real Paris, it's a working city. It's not a museum, you know. The Louvre and the line at the police station, those things are both part of the daily reality. And it's a real city. It's a busy city. People have got stuff to do and places to go. And if you're standing around clueless in the middle of the sidewalk, that's where the idea of French being rude maybe comes from, is just tourists who don't know how not to be in the way
Right, right.
or don't know how to not make a spectacle of themselves, talking too loud, leading with English, you
Mm.
know. Whenever I
Let me ask
travel, I
you.
mean, that's the first thing I do is learn hello, how are you, please, thank you, goodbye, where's the bathroom. I learn like five or six little things in their language so that
Mm,
I can
right. Lead
have a
with it.
have a hope. Yeah, so
Right.
I can have a hope of people not just like, ignoring me.
Let me ask you something. Is there strikes all the time in Paris, or how? What do you think about that? Because I hear that all the time. France obviously loves their crèves, but
Yeah, yeah,
in
Le
Paris
Greve,
specifically, does it? Have you noticed that a lot?
V Viva la Greve. I've been here long enough, we've been here. They were some happening when we visited for a few months, on the reunion and honeymoon, and then now we've lived here. December is going to be 2 years. We moved here December 1 of 23. Um, they are not constant, There seem to be periods where there are a lot of them, and then there's nothing for 3, 4, 5 months. They are, generally speaking, whether they're like, right, most recently we had this basically strike everything, close everything. And there's a lot behind that. Anyone who's really interested and doesn't know can get online and Google, oh, what were the recent French strikes about? And the internet will tell you better than I could summarize it. But it's sort of like a catch-all basket of grievance that different people have for different reasons. Some of it's like labor union stuff, some of it's retirement age stuff, some of it's general, I hate these politicians, I hate these politicians.
Mm,
Some of it's class divide stuff, but like all these disparate groups of people, like somebody basically said, okay, this date, let's do one. What I'll say, and some of them are more labor union related things where like certain contracts are going to expire on the date and the people who were affected feel like they're getting screwed. And so they say, well, okay, then we'll show you. We will do a series of La Greve beginning on this date. What I'll say is, now I have been inconvenienced. I have had stuff, I've sat on an airplane for 2 hours on the runway at Charles de Gaulle trying to go to the UK before we had moved, we were here on the honeymoon, where the air traffic controllers, there was a strike. So they were super short staffed. And so we were on the plane for over 2 hours beyond the normal amount of time before you take off. But so I've been inconvenienced. I've had trains get canceled when I had to travel during a strike. But what I'll say is that they announce them. It is a cultural
uh,
thing where they seem to go out of their way to help people plan around it. And for instance, when there's a major transportation strike, that was part of what we just got through up here recently. But so it's like the entire transportation system, like the buses, buses, subways, commuter rail,
mm,
forget it. But they typically have one, or if say there are like 10 different ways to do something, there's probably two ways that are still like relatively normal. Like they
mm,
keep some points of access so people can get to and from, striking, protest sites, or so
right.
the people have to get someplace can get someplace. So they do announce it, and there's an app that needs to start paying me because I do free promos for them all the time, called City Mapper. And City Mapper is in most of the major cities around the world. It works in most major and medium cities. And Google Maps does this to a degree, Apple Maps to a degree. I'm sure there's lots of other things, but City Mapper I really like because you got to go from point A to point B. It'll tell you Like if you're looking, say you're going to travel and you're looking like for some trip 3 days ahead and you're putting in that as the date to leave or whatever, it'll say, oh, like it'll tell you, oh, there's going to be a strike. And then, oh, these are your alternate routes. This is how this leg of your potential route is affected or not.
Mm. Oh,
But
that's
then
great.
there's an app that we use here in the Paris region called Bonjour, RATP. And RATP is the acronym for like the French Transportation Authority. And when there's a strike, and on their app, you ask you, I got my language to English, so I can read all this in English, which is helpful. But it will tell you on this strike, these bus lines are heavily affected. It shows you how much they're impacted.
Wow.
And you can choose like from where we are, we could go that way. Whoops, we could go that way and catch one of 4 or 5 buses to get to the train
Mm.
station. Or we could walk, take 15 minutes to walk to the train station uphill, so that kind of sucks. Or I could go to one that's right around the corner. There's one bus that stops here. So I can see it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to go there and I need to, okay, this is the one I want, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah,
you
I've,
can you can really figure it out. You can deal with it. It's not too bad.
yeah. The French have their apps up down good because yeah, the TBM app that I use is very user friendly, and the app that you're talking about sounds great too. So they definitely have their transportation stuff. They get it all figured out. Um, so I want to ask you a little bit, or actually, what are some hidden gems tourists might not know about in Paris? Like not the tourist traps. Are there any cool spots that you like maybe around Paris?
Yes, and excellent question. I would say that because we lived here for a while, we don't really do so many there are so many tourist type things that we have just
Right,
never done.
right,
I mean, I've been up the Eiffel Tower on my high school trip in 1986. I'm that old. I've been to the Louvre in 1986. I haven't been since.
right, right.
I've been by it. So what I would say, and it's not that these are not touristic, but they're not the first thing people think of. It really is the simpler things like doing your own little picnic, not near the Eiffel Tower, because you got to watch out for all kinds of craziness there in terms of pickpockets. And it's kind of overdone.
Yeah.
But there are places that are gorgeous. There's Pont Neuf, which means basically New Bridge. And that is right in the heart of Paris. It's a popular place to, there's like a big park. They're like a concrete kind of park, with statues in the
Mm.
center of the park and stuff. And that's a popular place where the tourist boats that take you up and down the Seine River go, which we have done that, which was awesome. I've got a video on our channel that's like a little summary of the best video
Mm.
that I shot on that. But, the things that I really like, there's certain neighborhoods that are just great, to walk in. For me, one of the best parts is discovering some cool little restaurant, some cool cafe, bistro, full service restaurant, whatever it is. And some place that maybe where, oh, Ernest Hemingway, used to get drunk here,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
That's all interesting.
Mm.
But in terms of things I would recommend to tourists, I would suggest that you really explore. I mean, anybody who comes here to visit, and I have had some friends who've come to visit and get together with us is on their agenda list, and then they would tell me their schedules, and a few people said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, that's yes to this, but otherwise." First, don't overschedule yourself.
Yeah, right.
Like pick one big thing a day because you're not prepared for how long it's going to take to get into the Louvre, and then how long you could spend a week and you wouldn't see it all. So that's a day.
Right.
Don't plan to do this thing in the morning. Oh, we'll do this in the afternoon. No, no, you won't. You won't. You'll be trying to find a reason to keep on living, to get home and get to dinner or get to a restaurant. So yeah, sorry, I don't have
No,
I'm answering your question by saying I don't have a hidden little gem to show
no,
you.
I think that was all great information. I totally agree. Explore the city. Uh, Not that I really explored Paris much, so I will take that advice. myself when I visit. I'm just gonna be exploring everything. So now I want to pivot a little bit. You know, you're a writer, director, producer, musician, creative person. So, but you also have a YouTube channel covering great topics about expats moving abroad, or if you're coming abroad and you want to visit, different things to know about France. So I am curious. I'm sure you're someone like me that does that needs a little creative outlet. But what drew you to YouTube at first?
Yeah, YouTube, the channel. So the channel that I started with my wife is, as I mentioned, it's called Chez Davis. So House of Davis, right? Chez Davis, expat parents in Paris, and that is really. I started it as a creative outlet for us to share things we've learned, and it happened to be in the time I mentioned, like the big project that brought us here. I feel like it's going to happen. I don't want to jinx myself here for the sake of posterity. I feel like it's going to happen, and all signs and things I can't discuss indicate that it's actually happening. But, in the meanwhile, I needed something creative to do, and Susie and I have learned so much from our very unique cross-cultural, journey here. So, like you and your wife were a multicultural couple, unlike you, because your wife is French, we're too, I mean, we got an American and a Chinese, and then we moved to Paris and have a baby here who's growing up trilingual, which is its own little story. Plus a few words of Spanish I sprinkle in there as well. Because I used to be fluent in Spanish, the second language. But with Shay Davis, we really focus on family life, but expat life. What's it like to live here? We talk about the practical and cultural things. We talk about, a lot of logistical how to do things sorts of content. Also, we plan to get back into more fun cultural related things, and a bit of philosophical stuff. But doing the channel, it really has been, something to capture these moments, because so much stuff's going by. All this is so hard. And I feel like I'm as well prepared for it as basically anybody because I've been diligent. I've known this is coming for years. This was a chosen adventure, right? So I've been as proactive as I could be, and nonetheless, surprises, curveballs, hurdles galore, right? So we're trying to share as much of that as we can to, flatten other people's learning curves who are wanting to do something similar to what you guys are or we have done.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of YouTube in general, I have a personal channel, just Brendan. It's got my middle initial in there because some other Brendan Davis has at Brendan Davis, Brendan K. Davis on
Right.
YouTube. But my personal slash film channel is for all my non-commercial stuff. So short films, music related projects. It's got archives of my old podcasts on there. It's really a catch-all. And I'm not trying to build or promote that. It's surged in popularity most recently. Every 5-10 years, something drops where it goes nuts. But the very first video I posted in 2006, so YouTube was like 4 or 5 months old. I
Wow.
posted
Yeah.
something. I'd shot it on professional video on Beta SP of a friend of mine playing this amazing guitar piece. That's the first thing I ever posted. And right now, I think it's got around 170, 180,000 views, a majority of which it got before going viral on YouTube. That was relatively viral considering what
Yeah.
it, what
Yeah.
it is.
Oh yeah.
But then my short film, The Unwinding, is this thing that we did on our extended honeymoon reunion tour before we moved here proper. We were in the UK for 6 weeks. We spent most of that in the countryside up north, but then we spent a week in London, and I directed a short film that I wrote and produced, and I scored it. And I'm really proud of that film called The Unwinding. It lives on my personal channel, and that film's got over 400,000 views now,
Wow.
which
Right.
I mean, you've seen it, right? For a 25-minute film that's about a depressed widower
Right.
who's thinking of making the ultimate, we won't use the word because YouTube's algorithm doesn't like it. He's thinking of himself over grief for his deceased wife, and then something magical happens and gives him reasons to keep on living. That 25 minute, this long film that doesn't start off as the feel good movie of the summer, got over 400,000 views, and like it's like 5,000 likes and 1,000 comments, which are mostly like, "Oh my God, I love this." Whatever. That's amazing. So my personal channel, my personal YouTube channel, it will continue to be the place that I post stuff that doesn't fit into Chez Davis, but I'm not producing content for it
Mm.
actively, because like that's not my professional pays the bills,
Right.
filmmaking career. That's stuff that you can occasionally see in a film festival or on a theater screen or maybe on a TV near you.
If you don't mind, yeah, I would love to share that on the description below, and if that's all right. Yeah,
Please.
yeah, no,
I,
yeah,
I
you got
would
some
I would
good
I would
stuff.
love for people who are curious to
Yeah.
see, the unwinding. And on a different channel, we haven't promoted it, and the channel has like no subscribers, but there's another short film that is completely different. That's like a raunchy Southern comedy slash music video thing called
Oh,
Dirt Track
that was great
Honeymoon,
too.
which
Yeah.
is, thank you, man. That's the most recent thing I did, and I wrote and produced the song, which you were
Mhm.
like, what?
Yeah, I'm
Because we
impressed.
haven't we discovered that we both had this musician aspect
Mhm.
of our life
You're
too,
very
you know.
talented,
So
friend. Very talented.
well,
Happy
I'm
to.
I'm I'm blushing over here. You can't tell from the bright light blasting my
Right.
face, but I'm blushing over here.
I'm happy to share your stuff out. There's no problem at all.
Oh, thank you, man.
Um, so with your channel, Shay Davis, what is like, would you say is the best recommendation you could have? I mean, if you had to pick one thing for someone coming to France or Paris, or what is the number one thing you would recommend they do or have or anything like that?
That's a great question, and that I'm going to answer it as you ask it, with the caveat that, of course, there are a ton of things. I would say, I mean, all right, so if I've already, besides get your French, what I would
Mm,
say in general is an attitude that I've tried to have every place I've lived or worked or traveled. And, I know this is a good thing because I've not always done it, and things haven't gone as smoothly or well as they could. Try to take off, for me, try to live like a local as much as possible. Um, do as much research as you need to ahead of time to have a handle on this. But I would say, instead of like, we'll use Paris specifically since I'm up here, I would say get yourself the pass, the Navigo pass. They have which is like your transit card, and it's buses, subway trains, and commuter trains, right? And I have the one you pay for a month, and it's unlimited, and the whole system, for the month you renew it every month. But I would say get yourself one of the Navigo passes and plan to travel around that way, where you're amongst the locals. Don't go to, I mean, do some tourist stuff that you're going to want. Hey, we went to this, there's a thing I've always wanted to go to. Go do that thing or see that place. Go do that for sure. But prioritize a few of those. And otherwise, French people walk, man. In Paris specifically, this is a walking city. People walk. It's not a car culture. And, understand that, the city of Paris itself, again, it jobs, infrastructure for the country, the regions like where you are, there's space, there's serenity. And, I would say that if you're coming here, depending on where you're going, try to live like a local. Try to
mm,
live like a local. Try to find, and with the beauty of the internet and all the different apps, you can find this stuff that's not touristic as hell, but is awesome. Use your app or your map of choice when you're searching for a restaurant, and look at the recommendations and look for all the reviews in French where
mm.
they have 5 stars. Go there.
Good.
Go
Yeah.
there. Don't go to all the ones that in American English or unless they're saying, unless
Right.
unless what they say convinces you otherwise, default to the places that French people actually like and do that. Use your transit card to travel amongst the people. Don't be afraid. Forget, like, I mean, the hop on, hop off buses, that thing's fun. If you got 3 days, okay, that's probably going to be easy because you got somebody telling you in English, here's what's coming up and what you can see. But if you've got more than just 2 or 3 days, actually use your map, whichever app, City Map or Google Maps, whatever, and travel around like locals. Hop on the city bus. Be brave enough to hop on the city bus where you're not going to hear any English, you know, but you
Yeah.
got to follow the little thing and you go, okay, we got 4 stops, honey. Okay, okay, And like, what did they say? I think he said something. So, okay, I think that's our thing. Well, let's get off and then, figure it out if we have to. Yeah, try to live and travel like a local and just soak it in, and let me add to that, that's still the one answer. That also includes understanding that the rhythm of life here is just it's different. No matter where you're from, if you're coming from there's certain other European countries have similar concepts. Mexico has the siesta, Spain has their break. But the 2 hour lunch is a real thing here.
Mm.
And I don't even eat lunch, but I mean, I do one meal a day typically, and that's dinner. And I eat it early. Me and you are the same. We talked about this offline. No, nobody cares, but this is a funny thing. Me and Alex, we're both used to eating dinner early, and we don't do the French mealtime thing. But but if you do go to a lunch with French folks, understand that you're not bringing your laptop and opening up Excel at the lunch
Mm.
table. You're probably not even if this is literally work colleagues, as much as possible, you're not there to talk about work. You're there to eat lunch, talk about life, talk about the kids or the family stuff you're doing, or the great movie you saw or that you want to see that you hear is great, a book you read, travel you got upcoming. You're there
Yeah.
to talk, you're there to experience life. The rhythm of life. I read a thing that I'm kind of paraphrasing badly from memory, but the the work-life balance in France, it's not encouraged, it's basically enforced.
Mm. Right. Yeah.
It's basically enforced by the
That's
fact
okay with
that
me.
it's okay with me too, man. I'm a huge fan. The only time it gets tricky is when, because they have times they want to schedule stuff, maybe that's not when I would otherwise want to do a
Mm.
thing. Like if people invite you out for dinner, it's like, okay, well, it's going to be a late night because these people
Well,
are some friends who are French. So, but that's okay. Every once in a while, we don't be too rigid is part of the live
Mm.
like a local, because France, as formal and structured as French people are and French society is, there is a much more, I mean, the term that most Americans know, laissez-faire, which we interpret as like go with the flow, basically, that's a French term for a reason.
Mm.
They kind of roll with stuff and
Mm.
they
No.
complain about it, this and that, but they kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to live your life whenever possible.
Right. No, I think that's fantastic advice. I completely agree. Just take it all in and just have no preset mind. Don't have make your mind made up. Kind of get there, explore, and just live like a local. Like you said, that was fantastically said. So now I just want to we're gonna be wrapping up here soon, but I want to rapid
Yeah.
fire some questions
Rapid
off.
fire.
Fun, yeah.
Cool.
So what is your favorite French food, and what is the most overrated French food?
Okay. My favorite French food, it's a toss up between uh a lot of the things that people think are stereotypical. Actually, I love escargot and I have for years. I love foie gras.
No.
But I tell you, here's my favorite. You ready? Tartare le boeuf.
Oh
I
yeah.
love beef tartare.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I do
love me
too.
some beef tartare. I went my first time at any French restaurant. I mean, I'm sure there will be an exception moving forward in my life. I'm sure there's been a few exceptions if I have to really think about it. Generally speaking, my first time in a French restaurant, if it's on the menu, that's what I'm having. That's what I'm gonna try their beef tartare. That's
Yeah,
typically my go-to.
nice. It was yeah, I had that first too, and beef tartare is basically raw beef. Let's just say that right, with
Yeah,
like
it's like raw beef
onions and
with
stuff.
different seasonings depending on the place, they what they dress it with, but it's basically raw. Yeah.
No, it's
But
good.
it's but it's awesome. It's got some seasoning or some sauces and
Right.
highly recommend.
What is one thing or convenience you miss from home or China or wherever before France?
So the family friendly answer of what I miss the most from California, I will say that, like many countries, France has got political turmoil around immigration, but France needs more Mexicans. And some of them need to bring their delicious cuisine.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
cannot
I've noticed.
find people keep telling me, "Oh no, there's this one Mexican restaurant that's it's the best. It's the best. It's in the 12th district." I'm like, "Okay." And I haven't uh, France needs Mexicans. Um so miss from home, I miss I in all sincerity, Mexican food is not like my life, but I sure do like it.
Yeah.
And whether we need some more Mexicans, and some of whom with their delicious culinary delicious cuisine, um or some left of center Texans who can
Mhm.
bring the best of their Tex-Mex cuisine minus the politics of the other ones.
Right, right. No, I agree. I do miss Mexican food, and I have yet to find a good one here. Maybe it is somewhere, but if someone's listening to this, drop some Mexican recommendations. I will try them out. I'm in Bordeaux, if you don't know that, but Bordeaux region and Paris region. Let Brandon know if he's missing some Mexican restaurants that you like. We'll try it out. But Brendan, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me and dropping all this beautiful information. And I hope people listening got something from it.
Alex, I really appreciate you. By the time people are watching this, they can see me interviewing you on our channel. So we'll put
Right.
the links in the descriptions and check it out. And I really appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. We talked on the interview I did of you about how it's really cool to sort of, feel like we both are like making a new friend here.
Right.
And
Yep.
you're my first American friend in France.
You are mine
So
as well.
awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I hope you have a great day, rest of your day down there in Bordeaux.
You too. Thank you, Ben, and have a great evening.
Thanks, man.
Au revoir.